What is a trend line? How to draw a trend line? Should we connect the shadows or the bodies of the candles? How can we tell if our trend line will work or not? Is it possible to trade only with trend lines and be profitable? Please stay with me. I will answer each of these questions one by one. Before watching this tutorial, I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe to my channel right now, so I can create stronger content and explain topics that are rarely discussed. Now, let's go to the chart. When we see price moving upward or downward on a price chart, a trend is formed, and for this trend, we can draw a trend line. This trend line acts as a dynamic support or resistance, and each time the price touches it, there's a high probability of a meaningful reaction, allowing us to rely on it. But how do we draw these trend lines? Should we connect the shadows or the bodies of the candles? The most important point is to always consider the number of touches. Draw the trend line in a way that includes the maximum number of touches. This increases its validity. For example, in this upward trend, which isn't very complex, the trend line is drawn like this. Notice that in some cases, the trend line may pass through the middle of a candle. That's completely fine. The key is to focus on maximizing the number of touches. And if it happens in some places, it's natural. Now look at the next example. This one is a bit more complex and might seem difficult at first glance. The key points where I draw the trend line are these. If you pay attention, once you draw the trend line correctly, you'll see valid signals and trade much more successfully. You can take risks on every signal generated by this trend line, but before doing so, you must backtest and avoid trading blindly. How do we know if the trend line is broken and no longer valid? Please look at this chart. Before I draw the trend line, pause the video and try drawing it yourself based on what you've learned. Then, play the video and see if you did it correctly. According to the lesson, the trend line is drawn like this, covering most of the touches, making it valid. Now, focus on this area. Here, one or two strong candles close below the trend line, signaling a breakout. In this case, the candle did not close more than 50% below the trend line, so we cannot call it a breakout. But here, since the candle clearly closes below the trend line, we can say the breakout has occurred, and this trend line is no longer reliable. This can be a strong filter when using trend lines. Now, look at the next example. We see a downtrend, and the trend line can be easily drawn like this. All major touches are considered, increasing the trend line's validity. In this area, notice how the candles have clearly formed above the trend line, meaning the downtrend has been broken upward. A good strategy here would be to wait for a pullback. When price retests the broken trend line, you can enter a buy trade upon seeing a confirmation candle. However, all of this requires separate backtesting. You should never trade based on intuition alone. Before trading, you must have a clear plan for entry, risk management, and psychology. The golden question, is there a way to predict a trend line breakout before it happens? Yes. Look at this example. Price is in an uptrend, and we draw an ascending trend line. At every touch, price bounces upward, forming a higher high. But at this touch, price fails to make a new high and drops instead. However, this alone is not enough to open a sell trade. Price might quickly reverse and make a new high. Instead, wait for price to reach the trend line and react. If it fails to make a higher high and forms a bearish engulfing candle, engulfing the previous candle or several candles, you can enter a sell trade with a high probability that the trend line will break downward. A crucial tip: don't look for sells at the start of a trend. Wait for a few touches first, then use the golden rules I taught you to enter shorts. Now, look at this example. Price is in a downtrend. Notice how, at this point, price touches the trend line, but fails to make a lower low, forming a bullish engulfing candle. This tells you that the trend line is likely to break, and you can set higher targets. If you combine this strategy with horizontal support resistance levels, your results will improve significantly. I encourage you to practice these lessons and work through different examples until they become second nature. Thank you for staying with me until the end. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to my channel and leave your kind comments.